idea here. All right, guys, bear with me. This is our 8th episode. Today I got Luke. Today I have Luke Anderson in the hot seat. I will be doing my own live editing, so we're going to see how this turns out for YouTube and everything. But Luke here is somebody that's pretty special in my life. He went through cancer, but even before that, I met him, I think it was back in 2014?
Yeah,
2014, 2015. And Luke was already a pretty phenomenal guy. He's a couple years older than me. 27, you said? 28?
28.
And we just hit it off ever since. He was one of the guys that gave me the trial run. I think I talked about it in my last podcast.
the trial run?
He let me...
for marriage. Yeah.
For marriage. He let me move into his place for about 6 months before I got married.
That was a risky
deal.
move.
That was a risky
on
deal.
my part.
Yeah. So, we're just going to go ahead and kick this off with him. He's got a fantastic story, both before, what would that be? Is that post-cancer? Pre-cancer and post-cancer.
Post-cancer. Yeah, I've had...
Because we're kind of post-cancer now. We don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Kind of.
Okay. Sounds
the
good.
recovery phase.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. And that's what we're going to kick off today. So, dude, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Good? Doing good?
I mean, today I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
It kind of depends on the day.
All right. Well, we got you got you fed.
Yeah.
You came over tonight. We're supposed to be shooting this about 6 o'clock.
No nausea today, which is good.
Yeah.
Lately, I've been having maybe some nausea, maybe tough time eating.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like, and this is kind of a post-transplant thing, but
right.
Like sometimes I can't eat too much. I feel full really fast.
Oh, really?
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was that spaghetti I made you tonight?
It was good.
Is that good?
Yeah.
I gotta put this water
It's
down.
like old times, having a wife.
Yeah.
I mean, having Drew in the house.
I was not a wife. I was one of the worst ones. We better rewind this back so everybody kind of knows how we met. So we met in 2014.
At church.
And at a church group, I think.
College age.
Yeah, college age.
Yeah.
It was our local church that we were going to, and you had just moved back from Arizona?
No, I was...
what was going on there?
I was living in Billings, but I had already gone to college for a year in Arizona, and then I was getting ready to move back down to Arizona. But I was going to church, and I met you, and you were doing your whole take initiative thing,
mm-hmm.
and I told you that I was getting into day trading, and you were super stoked about that. In fact, I think you were going to have me on a podcast back then.
Oh, I'm sure. I've been talking about doing this.
We never did that.
No, I've been talking about doing this podcast for years now. So it's...
Oh, so you didn't have the podcast? This is it?
Yeah, this is it.
Wow.
I literally just started this.
Nice.
As much as you may not know, I literally just started this, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And I think you listened to the first episodes.
Few, like the introductory ones.
Yeah. And that's literally it. That's the only time that I've recorded podcasts before, but I've never published them. And back then I was thinking about it and considering it as another kind of leg for my Take Initiative company. And I was trying to get that started again. But that was right when I was doing that little kind of web design thing, because the summer before I met you, I had been working in the oil fields. And I think that's when I just came back from the oil fields was when I met you at college age, because it was that fall or something of 14.
Yeah.
Was it 14 or 15? No, it would have been 14. That fall
14.
That winter of 14.
Yeah, and then I moved at the beginning of 2015. I went back down to Arizona, and I was gone for a couple years.
Yeah.
Before moving back. So that whole thing is its own journey and story.
Right.
But
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Well, that's what we want to. That's what we want to cover. So, you have a whole identity outside of cancer. That's something that we want to confront. Is like cancer doesn't define you. We've been able to talk about that outside of this podcast, which I think is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But when I first met you, you were day trading. But before that, you actually had some other health stuff going on. Because you had contracted Lyme's disease. I thought you looked pretty rough when I first met you, but I guess you were healing up pretty good.
I didn't know it was Lyme's disease at the time. I think when I was a sophomore in high school, I started having really bad joint pain.
Yeah.
And I was taking a weightlifting class. So we thought that it had to do with like growing pains. I was growing quick, gaining weight, but it was really bad. And it kind of spread to some other issues like digestive issues, and like my skin was breaking out a lot, and just trouble sleeping. And that kind of got me into searching for like what's going on with me. So I started like trying to eat healthier, take all these supplements, and
Yeah, you really got into holistic stuff, like very.
Kind of, yeah. I was just eating really healthy. I tried every diet under the sun to try to figure out what was going on.
Yeah,
I went vegan even for like a few months,
yeah,
which was miserable.
yeah. I'm sure.
I
Sure.
did the whole paleo thing, so it was like nothing but meat for
Yep.
like a year or two. I was doing like low carb. I tried everything and found out that diet just wasn't helping. So there's clearly something else wrong.
Yeah.
I lost a portion of my colon when I was a senior in high school. My colon twisted a couple times.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know if it was the health issues that caused it, but my digestion was like so bad. It was my colon was twisting and filling up with air and getting bloated and stuff. And
What?
yeah, it was pretty nasty. But so my high school experience was not normal. I missed a lot of sick days. Or I missed a lot of days just from being sick and having surgery. And so I had that surgery my senior year. Then I went off to Arizona State because I wanted some place that was warm. Because that was one of the other symptoms is I was like crippling cold all the time.
Yeah.
And the Montana weather just wasn't doing it for me.
Wasn't conducive to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your mom and dad, your mom was a realtor. Your dad was a pastor at the time.
Ex-police officer.
Ex-police
He
officer.
had a whole different life before I was born.
Yeah.
So he was a police officer in Portland, Oregon, and then he had 2 kids in a previous marriage, my brother and sister, and then he went off to seminary and then had my brother and I and married my mom and
Yep. Married your mom first, then had your brother and I?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did that go?
In fact, he was 45 when he had me.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah.
he's quite
Yeah.
older dad.
Yeah. Well, how much older is your brother?
2 years.
2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad, that was kind of my situation. My
Yeah.
dad was in his 40s when he had me, I want to say. He was 40, I think. And then when they had Quinn, I think he was 43 or something like that.
Okay.
Or maybe he was 36 when he had me and then 39 when he had Quinn. I can't remember.
That's not like too bad for
Not
a guy.
terrible. And-
but I felt
yeah.
like 45. for
That's
my dad.
pretty-
He's pushing it.
Yeah, yeah, that's a little bit farther out there. Still in great shape. You look great, Tom. Look good. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
He's survived a lot.
yeah, he's been through some stuff too.
He has been.
You guys all together have. I mean, your mom. I love talking to your mom and hearing her come up story in real estate and how well she did and everything. That's really
she's
exciting.
just kind of like me with day trading. She got into it out of pure necessity,
Yeah,
just to pay the bills.
yeah,
And then she became really good at it.
yeah.
So
Well, let's dive into that because the whole point of this podcast is to really go after figuring out how to kind of monetize a life that you want to live and not be a slave to the monetization.
yeah,
You know, you got to figure out how to survive and make enough and be able to do what you actually want. And I think that's really cool though, that when you were getting sick and everything, because I think that's where your story starts with day trading.
yeah.
You were trying to figure out a way to pay
Well,
the bills kind of.
I would have never imagined day trading. In fact, I wanted to do something totally different. I wanted to do, I wanted to be like maybe an engineer or a doctor, go to med school, go to business school, something like that. Have like a career and everything. I had really good grades.
Yeah, that was my question.
I was almost a straight A student in high school and taking honors classes and stuff. I was probably like 2 Bs away from valedictorian. So, yeah.
And then so when you decided that, or when you just started getting unhealthy, or not on your own choice, but you started having these issues.
Yeah, what happened was I went to college for a year and I started having like really bad brain fog
Yeah.
and other issues. Like it seemed like it was affecting me psychologically and I was getting into some pretty deep depression. And so I was like, I'm going to move back to Montana, get this figured out, then come back to college. Well, I was feeling better. I got some issues figured out. And then I found a guy who was able to help me using some kind of alternative methods, and I was feeling quite a bit better. But this whole time, I'm thinking, how am I going to pay the bills? And so I had already opened a brokerage account just to invest some money, and I was kind of learning about day trading. And so that was the drive to start day trading. It was just out of necessity.
Yeah.
I was like, this is something I can do at home.
Yeah.
I don't need a degree.
Yeah.
I can work when I want. If I'm feeling like crap,
Yeah.
then I can take the day off. So
When you started, because there's some people out there that are thinking about starting,
Yeah.
Can you say what you started with, or about how
Well, much
you had for your seed money?
when I my seed money was only like $4,000 or $5,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I invested it in a tiny pharmaceutical
Mm-hmm.
company. I think I cashed out and made a few extra thousand, and then kind of coming back to Montana when I started doing a little bit more. My mom knew about it and she gave me some money to kind of get my account up a little bit.
Yeah.
Just help me out. So I
Absolutely.
slowly built the base up, and but I was doing it kind of sparingly, pretty low risk trades.
Mm-hmm. Just going for like a 1% gain, 2%
Yeah,
gain
I
here
was
and there.
for the most part I was doing a lot of just studying
Yeah.
on the markets and figuring out the terminology and stuff, and
Yeah.
and the charts and all that.
Yeah. Because would you say that you're a swing trader, a value trader? For those that understand trading, is there like
Maybe a little bit of all of that.
Yeah.
I look for value in the market.
Yeah.
I swing trade sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Government considers me a pattern day trader.
Okay.
So I make more than 3 closed trades a week,
Yeah.
which you have to have a balance of. If you're getting into day trading, I'm not sure if it's like this for every broker, because some brokerages are out of the U.S.,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to have $25,000 in your account to do
Pattern day
that.
trade. Yeah.
So
And a
At least.
open and closed position within a week. So you can have 3 closed positions. So that means you can open one and close it.
yeah, 3 closed trades. So buy
Yeah.
and sell.
Yeah, buy and sell within a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you kind of have a bit of a method to it. You'll get up in the morning. I know that you kind of trade early
Yeah.
in the morning and everything.
Yeah, most of the action takes place in the first 2 hours of the day. That's when everything's the most volatile.
Yeah.
That's when the most human trading is occurring.
Okay.
And then you kind of notice the rest of the day there's some, they call it the algos or the algorithms.
Yeah.
The automated trading kind of kicks in.
Yeah. The bot boys, the people that are doing
it's a lot less volatile. Yeah.
Everyone's just looking for a penny change, but
Yeah.
they do it in huge volumes enough to make it.
Yeah.
And they do it really, really fast, right? They're just like super rapidly.
Yeah.
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 That's a lot of the volume that we see today in
So,
a couple places.
but it wasn't like quite as smooth as all of that though.
Right.
Because I had some pretty big gains, some pretty big losses. I had to deal. The hardest part of it about day trading is dealing with the loss and dealing with greed.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a mental game. So it requires a lot of discipline. And so I think anybody can be a good trader if they have the right attitude and mental, like how they approach it mentally. So
Because this is now
It's hard.
This is your only income, and it's
Yeah.
been your only income for how long? The last 6 years, 7 years.
yeah, I guess I made my first like day trade, I guess, probably in 2014. So
And
almost
how
7
long
years.
did it take before you started being profitable enough, or like to have an idea that you're going to make it, and be able to survive on
It wasn't for a few years that I was consistent with my gains, because I think it was in 2015. That's when I made my biggest single day trade, which was over $9,000.
You profited.
I
over
made
$9,000
several
in a
big
day?
trades that year,
Yeah.
but I wasn't consistently getting good trades. So those big trades were pretty much it.
Yeah.
And so that was enough to pay my rent in Arizona, down in Phoenix.
Yeah.
While I was living there, and just cover all the bills. So I was happy with it.
Yeah.
But
So we're talking like you made like $20,000-$30,000 in a year, kind of a thing.
maybe 20.
20.
Yeah.
See, that's
That was like my first profitable year.
yeah, and I think that's a huge part of the story, because a lot of people with Wall Street bets and and all this other stuff going on, a lot of people think that you can just get in the market, time one trade, and they're playing it like a gambling machine.
Well, it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why they say 99% of day traders fail, is because it's mostly people who come in with $10,000 or $20,000. They bet it all on high risk stocks, they lose it, and then they're out. So I've developed more of a strategy now where I go after pretty stable, try to go for companies that have a little bit of a larger market cap, so there's high volume, volatile, but not too volatile. And I'm pretty strict about my limits, when I'm going to buy, when I'm going to sell, if I'm in the red. So it's just small, consistent gains, but ultimately that's how you make it.
Yeah, and the high volume for like people
Yeah.
that don't know, it's you want to target a little bit larger volume stocks because then it has enough liquidity that you can
Yeah.
dump a position really quickly or you can purchase a position quickly.
Yeah.
There's enough people in the market to absorb what you're selling. And
Exactly.
you're in these smaller market cap stocks and say that there's maybe only a million in volume and you hold a fairly large position,
Yeah, because
it's really hard to get rid of stuff.
sometimes I'm making. I mean, I've made trades that are over $100,000 before for a day trade.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
and that was like on margin, which wasn't the smartest thing. I was still a little bit new, but margin is, for those of you who don't know, it's when you borrow money. Basically, the for every dollar you have in your account, brokerage is willing to lend you so many dollars toward a trade.
Mm-hmm.
So, with really low risk stocks, it's up to 4x. So,
Wow.
if you had $100,000,
Do 400K somewhere.
yeah, you could do a $400,000 trade, but that's risky if you're
It goes the wrong way.
if you're trading something that's, because that can really drain your account. So I quit doing that. And one of the reasons I only do high liquidity stocks, high volume, is because I want my strategy to work whether I'm trading with 10,000, 100,000, someday if I'm at a million. I want to be able to trade with any amount
Yeah.
and still be able to trade the same strategy. I don't want to have to be dealing with penny stocks that, you throw $10,000 at it and it moves it 3%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's a pretty scary place to be
Yeah.
if you're trying to dump your position because
Right.
the same thing will happen is if you dump
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden domino effect.
yeah,
or who
and
knows?
and a lot of guys do that. Like
Yeah.
these, I don't want to name anybody specific.
We don't need any lawsuits.
But there's these big day traders,
Yeah.
quote unquote,
Yeah.
who they sell their day trading expertise, their picks, and you can follow them, and they'll pick like these tiny, really thinly traded stocks, and what I think they do is they buy the stock, then they call it out on their chat room, and then you have hundreds, even potentially thousands of people who pour their money into it, drive the price up, and then it's just a pump and dump
Yeah.
scam.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they're making millions every year from all their subscribers and selling all their course materials. And so I don't follow anybody. I don't do Wall Street bets. I don't follow any other traders. I go on StockTwits once in a while to find ideas.
And that's like the Twitter of stock market.
Yeah, there's guys I follow who will throw out like, "Oh, this stock's moving," and that's a benefit to me because I'm looking for stuff that's moving, and sometimes I don't spot it. So
Do you ever use, and this is just kind of for my own personal knowledge, but do you ever use bots or anything like that, or do you set up in your trading software like let me know when it hits this much volume and whatever, like signifies?
Oh yeah,
it?
yeah.
Signals, I think.
It's
is what they call them.
it's a scanner.
Yeah,
stock
scanner, stock scanners and stuff.
Yeah, I have a stock scanner.
Yeah.
It's just stuff that's moving, or if there's like abnormally large volume all of a sudden in a stock, that's so I'll scan for like if a stock normally has like $100,000 or 100,000 shares traded daily, and all of a sudden they get a 500,000 buy order
Wow.
that drives the price up X amount of percent, then it'll show up on my scanner.
Okay.
And I can look at it and see, is this a legitimate move? Did they release news? So that's kind of a way to get on it really quick before their traders do.
Do you typically mostly do options right now, or are you actually buying real
No.
stock? Or what
No,
do
I
you-
just buy and sell stocks
just
that are
stocks.
moving.
Simple as
That's all I really know. I mean, I know what options are. I'm sure I'll get into options trading in the future.
Yeah.
If I'm holding a stock for more than like a month or two or longer, then sometimes I'll buy that stock, and if it goes up, I'll sell covered calls.
Yeah.
I'll sell options on the stock just to try to leverage my position a little bit, cover some of the original investment. So,
And I don't know if you want to go into actual numbers or not, but percentage wise, how much stuff do you actually maintain longer than a week? Like, or do you cash out everything every day? How does that
I hardly ever
stay
hold
in
anything
something?
more than like 2 or 3 nights.
Really?
That's like the longest. I have sometimes I'll see an opportunity like a value stock, and I might put a little bit of money in it and see where it goes over the course of a few months.
Yeah.
I had to do that when I had cancer
Yep.
because I just wasn't, I was in the hospital, going to the doctor so much that I didn't have time to day trade.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit more swing trading and long-term trades when I had cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you had Lyme's disease. You got that cured. What happened?
well,
How did that go away?
I honestly, I think that got cleared up with the cancer.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I was feeling better before the cancer, but I still wasn't quite 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got the cancer, and there was a part of me in my mind that was like, maybe the treatment for the cancer is also going to knock out whatever's been bugging me for the past
Really?
6-8 years. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So
you didn't know if it was Lyme's disease or not. Did you ever know for sure what was bothering you for last?
I'm pretty sure it's Lyme's.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever had formally tested, but all the symptoms were.
It all seemed like that.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
So yeah, but I got the treatment for the cancer, and they throw so many drugs at you.
Oh yeah.
I should have brought the bags of drugs.
Oh,
to show
that'd
on
been
camera.
wild. Yeah.
It's
Well, we're just gonna have to get
dozens.
if you want to send me a screenshot or something like
Yeah.
that, or a picture of it.
I have
I can
pictures.
put that in.
Yeah, we saved all the. But yeah, they threw so many drugs, antibiotics, antifungals, everything, chemo, radiation, all that.
Yeah.
So it took care of whatever's going on with me before. More
Wow.
energy, even between like chemo breaks, I was like, man, I'm feeling good. Like
Really?
I'm feeling better.
Really?
So I was actually really optimistic during the cancer
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
because I was like, I think I'm gonna be feeling better
Yeah.
going into the future.
So let's just I guess we should
Yeah.
just dive into this because
Sure.
this is kind of a big part of the topic today because money is nice. You've done well with money, and
I suppose.
but it's not everything, right?
Yeah, it's not
So
everything.
we talked. Yeah, it sounds like you've done all right. I
Yeah.
mean, you won't tell us the numbers, but I mean, you can tell us how much you have.
Well, I wouldn't say
You don't
like
have to.
I think some people wealth is such a it depends on your perspective, right? Because
Right.
I consider myself wealthy.
Right.
I'm not like a millionaire,
Right.
or even close to it yet.
Yeah.
But I have a house.
Yeah.
I have a wife who has a solid income.
Yeah.
I have money in the banks. So if we fall in hard times, it's not like so I feel secure. I
Yeah.
think security is the right word.
Right.
So
Well, you also don't go to a 9 to 5 every day, which is nice.
yeah, that is nice.
You dictate your hours. I mean, I know you work hard because when I lived with
Yeah.
you, you were trading pretty much every morning, 7 to 10 or 11 a.m.
Yeah,
But then
I
you'd be
guess.
researching stuff and looking into stuff. And
Well, the thing is, sometimes I miss though having a job outside of the house. Sometimes I kind of desire that because just being in your house all the time can be
yeah,
a little bit of a mental struggle.
yeah. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
You get in a funk sometimes.
Oh yeah. Well,
So.
I mean, I was in one when I was
Yeah.
living there with you for that 6
Yeah.
months. I moved in. I think it was in January, or was it that fall?
Yeah, it was January.
January, and I was there for exactly
Until
6
June.
months. Yeah,
Yeah.
June, because I got married in July,
hmm
and I think I rented a place up in we call it the Heights, but I rented a place. I was living on the West End with Luke, and then I moved to the Heights, and it was literally a trial run living with you.
Yeah.
It was like because I had always lived in crew settings, bunk houses,
Yeah.
all these different places, or my truck.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really moved officially out of my parents' place. I mean, I lived on a ranch for a while, kind of in a bunkhouse setting. I was in man camps. I just never really kind of maintained my own
Yeah,
house.
I know
outside
it
your
showed.
house.
It showed.
Oh, I know. I know. I'm probably one of the
I'm just
messiest.
kidding. You were actually pretty clean.
I
for
kept
what
to
I
myself.
mean,
My room was rough.
Your room was rough, but I just remember going down and doing laundry one day in the basement, and
Yeah.
I hear this little like scurrying.
Yeah. Oh, we got to talk. All right.
And,
We'll do that. We'll do that.
And
Yes.
hey, Drew, you've been hearing this scurry? Oh yeah, I've heard that for weeks now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, you didn't think to tell me, and you're like, oh, I've lived in man camps and trailers infested with mice. I didn't think of anything of it. I was like, well,
That's a mouse. It sounds
I think we gotta take care of that. And then we go up to the kitchen and we found mice turds everywhere,
Yeah. Yeah.
like behind the fridge and in the like the bottoms
Well,
of the cabinets and stuff.
let's set the scene. I've been blessed with friends in my life that have very nice houses. Luke had just got done remodeling this house. I think his mom and him, you guys bought this together, right?
Yeah, we bought it as an investment property,
Right.
and I spent 6 months fixing it up. I was gonna sell it,
Right.
but then I I started dating my wife
Yep.
and figured I better
Better hold on
keep
to it.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So the place has pretty much immaculate. It's got nice countertops, stainless steel. It's very
Yeah, it's all redone.
yeah,
it's
very,
everything's new.
very nice. Yeah, and it looks really good too. I mean, it has it's not Metro, but what do you call that? Contemporary. It has a very contemporary.
Yeah,
look.
kind of modern.
Yeah,
yeah.
contemporary modern.
Really light and airy.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking. I might have heard that mouse 2 or 3 times, but I will admit that there's a good chance it came in one of my duffel bags after I got done hauling hay. I don't know what happened.
There's
there.
a chance, yeah.
There's a chance. But anyway, so we find all this crap on the counter, and it's not like, I mean, it must have been fairly recent, but we just kind of started looking enough to see it.
Yeah.
And we saw it in the butter dish, and we both had like
Oh my
had
gosh.
toast that morning and all that stuff, so it was weird.
Yeah.
But anyways, continue on. You can, if you want to finish that
Well,
out.
then you told me about what's the virus that you can get.
Hantavirus.
You told me about hantavirus.
Yep. And that's from ingesting.
You had
pee
us,
or
yeah, you
poop.
had us both sketched out because there was so many mouse turds in the kitchen. I was like, there's
We're-
probably a high chance that we've eaten.
Yeah.
We've ingested it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you read
Yeah.
that you were like, red wine.
Yeah.
You're like, red wine might get rid of it.
Yeah. I think I had read that.
Like it might kill the virus. So we both split a bottle of red wine, and
Yep.
then we cleaned up mouse turds. We like cleaned every square inch of that kitchen.
We pulled
And
out
then
the fridge. We did
set
everything.
we set all the traps and stuff, and
Yeah.
I think we got the mouse that night.
We did. We got him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think
It was on top of one of the vents down
Yeah.
in the laundry room.
Yeah,
So-
that's right. That's where we got him. Was down there
Yeah.
because he was running through the air duct system in the house.
And I should have done this a long time ago, but I just got my vents cleaned,
Right.
and there was tons of construction sawdust and dust and all that. And
Yep.
sure enough, they found a mouse nest right above your bedroom.
Nice. Should have sued the landlord. No, that was a crazy. Yeah, that was wild. It was funny because there's always an ongoing joke too, where we had like we should have put photos up in the house and we
I
should have
know.
like done all this stuff because it was such a nice place.
Your wife wasn't like too happy about it. She started taking it seriously. She thought we had a real
Like we had a relationship.
romance going on. Like we might have been sharing a bedroom or something.
Yeah, well, it's cheaper on rent. I got to give up something else, No, that was a good time in my life. That was fantastic because you were pretty, at that time, you were like super up on supplements and eating healthy and,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And
Isn't
it
that
helped me a
crazy?
bunch.
Yeah. I'm not into doing a whole bunch of supplements anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. We even started a supplement company for a little while.
Yeah.
We
Well,
thought
we
about
didn't
it.
start it.
We ground up some liver.
Yeah, and
We dried some liver
we dried it in the storage room, and the whole house reeked.
Reeked.
And then
Yeah. And then we bought the capsules though. I remember
yeah,
filling
I
capsules.
had the little capsule filler thing.
Yeah.
You scrape we pureed the dried up liver and
Yeah.
put it. Yeah, that was gross.
Yeah. I
We
bought
can still
the
do
domain.
that sometime.
I know. I got the
why
domain.
not?
We could totally start
Do
a
you
supplement
really?
company. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Montana Grass Supplements because it was supposed to be grass-fed beef. And I
Maybe
got the
that'll be
domain and
like
everything.
a business venture in the future.
Oh yeah, heck yeah. I mean, if this thing goes Joe Rogan status, we're gonna need some kind of a supplement that we're gonna sell.
That's
So-
right. The iodine
Yeah.
to get you through the nuclear war
Yeah.
or whatever's
Whatever
gonna happen.
whatever he's thinking. Yeah. Dude, yeah. So
Yeah.
anyways, that was a fantastic time.
That was
I got you hooked on some video games. Played some PUBG.
yeah, really bad.
Yeah.
We played way more than we should have.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we both had lifestyles that kind of catered to it because you would work for 3-4 hours in the morning, and
Yeah.
I'd only work for 4 or 5 months out of the year at that time.
Yeah.
And I'd be trying other stuff for. I think that was the year that I bought my drone and my all my video equipment and everything. So I think that was kind of the year that I really got into video because I remember watching a bunch of YouTube and stuff. But
Yeah.
that was a good time. Fantastic job with that house. But
Thanks.
anyways, carrying on. So you got married
Mm-hmm.
that summer too, or when did you get married?
It was only a couple months after.
After I got married, right? Because we were kind of
did.
both talking.
Yeah, I
about,
got married in September. You got married in July.
Yeah, we were
so.
both talking about planning our weddings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and then after that, you married a lovely nurse,
Yeah.
Carly, who also has a photography business.
Yeah, she's excellent photographer.
Yeah.
I'd imagine if that takes off, she might not be a nurse for more than another few years longer. Hopefully,
Wow.
I don't know,
Yeah.
depending on how I do as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess we were almost 2 years into our marriage,
Mm-hmm.
or a year and a half. It was spring of 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and I was out doing yard work and using the rototiller and everything. And a couple days later, I noticed my shoulder like felt like it was like really painful. I thought I'd torn something like really bad.
Really?
And so I went to the wherever you go for not like the
Just walk-in clinic.
not
or
the
something?
walk-in, but it was like the orthopedic walk-in.
Oh, okay.
Where you go for like broken bones or injured if you have an injury.
Mm-hmm.
And they scanned it and gave me some anti-inflammatory and said you might just have like a strained something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what it was, but well, then I started having really bad pain in my chest,
Mm-hmm.
sternum, extremely bad pain, like keep me up all night, screaming pain in my ribs, chest. So we went to the ER. They took blood tests and all that. Said, "Oh, everything looks normal.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna put you on some steroids. You might just have some inflammation or maybe an infection that's causing." So, felt great for 4 or 5 days on the steroids. Came off of it. Everything returns times 10 in other areas of my body as well. So it was like spreading, and yeah, it was about 5 weeks of this, kind of back and forth to the doctor trying to figure out what was wrong. My labs did not look normal, regardless of what the first doctor said.
And labs didn't look normal. High T cell. What's
So-
what's going on here?
Well, when we looked back at my labs from the first ER visit, my platelets had dropped from like 450,000 to like 50,000,
Wow.
which is not normal. And I was neutropenic, which means my neutrophil count was low. It's a type of white blood cell, which means like something was wrong with my blood cells. But no one really thought anything of it. Doctors look at you and they're like, "Oh, you're 27, you're in good shape," or 26 at the time, you're in good shape. It's nothing.
Yeah.
Just go home. And we actually went to the ER a couple other times, and there was a doctor in there who he was like really arrogant, and
Wow.
he did not want to give us the time of day.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was jaded. He might have been used to people coming in just for painkillers because they were having to give me morphine. I was in so much pain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was actually, we'd been doing this for a few weeks. I started having like really bad night sweats, fevers, just feeling like sick and just all this bone pain. And finally one day Carly was like, I was actually feeling decent, but Carly was just like, we just need to go to the ER again and demand that they do a CAT scan. So we go, we demand a CAT scan, happen to have the arrogant doctor. He's like, "Yeah, we'll do it, but we're not going to find anything. It's a waste of time." Type,
Yeah.
he had that type of mentality. He
He knows
something-
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He said something along those lines. But anyways, they'd give me a bunch of morphine, way too much, and I'm just in bed in the ER room, and he comes in and he can barely choke out the words because he knows he was wrong. He's like, "We're gonna have to admit you. You have you have a bone lesion." And then he left, and then all of a sudden, that's when the real help arrived. All the nice doctors who are actually concerned, and they come in, and I've got a guy looking down at me. He's like, "All right, we're admitting you. We're gonna take you up to this floor, and we're gonna be looking at lymphoma." And he started saying all these cancers, blood cancers,
Really?
lymphoma or leukemia, blah blah blah.
Ugh.
We're gonna have to do a biopsy, bone marrow biopsy,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm on morphine, like high dose morphine, and so this is all like a dream to me. But there's just like that disbelief of like, what? No, I don't have cancer. In fact, Carly and I thought I had some sort of infection. Like we were thinking everything but cancer. But yeah, they did a biopsy and they rolled in a TV to my room the next morning, and there was an oncologist. It was like a telemed thing, and he said, "Hey, bud, you have acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and we're gonna treat you for about 2 years." And at the end of it, you're going to be back to fishing, hunting, and hiking. So,
Wow.
and in my mind, I was like, okay, that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Cool. Like I had been through so much health stuff at that point
Yeah.
that to me, it was like, all right, we're just going to get through this.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, we were shocked, but I was like, oh, it's fine. And then he's like, you have to be down to Denver by Friday. And,
Start chemo.
one of my best friends was coming in from Washington that week, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna go down to Denver till after I see him. We're gonna hang out." And yeah, they discharged me, and I went back home and had another episode. I was in a crisis, lymphoblast crisis. The cancer was just eating through my bones, and went back home and had to go back to the ER. And then they called in a life flight and got my wife and I on a plane and put a bunch of drugs in me. And I mean, from there, it's all kind of a blur.
Yeah.
I don't remember much from the time I was diagnosed to the time I ended up in Denver in my hospital room. So,
wow.
Yeah. Except for when I got to Denver, they had to do their own biopsy, and they had to do it without sedation.
Oof.
So I was like kind of coming off my meds, and they're sticking a drill. Because they have to actually take a power drill,
Wow.
and they have to drill a hole in your pelvis to get the bone marrow out.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah.
Extremely painful.
Unpleasant. They still numb it.
Yeah.
So it's not like, but when they aspirate it, when they suck the bone marrow out, that it's like a really sharp, intense feeling.
I can't imagine.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. So you go down there, life flight and everything. Now at this point, you have some decent insurance, but I'm sure that's not even a thought in your mind right now, or at that point. No. It's just like, what is going on?
Yeah, Carly had really good insurance, so that
helped.
I don't have to talk about that because they were really great.
Yeah,
our private insurance,
which is amazing. So go out and get insurance, everybody. Health insurance, something totally worth it.
Well, when I was single, I'd been buying my own insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God I married a nurse who had really great benefits, because the insurance I was buying when I was single, I was like, I'm young and healthy. I don't need something too much. So
yeah, that's my thought too.
Plus it's expensive, man. If you make money, health insurance is expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. So you get down there, you know what it is. You already knew what it was by the time you left Billings.
Yeah. So we know I have cancer. What we didn't know is, and they knew this, but the type of acute lymphoblastic leukemia I had was caused by a mutation, a specific mutation called the Philadelphia chromosome. Okay. And you almost always have to have a bone marrow transplant for that.
Yeah.
To cure that. So, and they told me that. They sat down. I think it was like day number 2 or 3 that I landed in Denver. They wanted to start things right away. And I had a group of doctors come in, and this team from Denver, they have a whole blood cancer unit. Mm-hmm. Tons of doctors, and they came in and they were telling me like the odds, all the odds of survival and odds of this and odds of having to have the transplant and everything. Mm-hmm. So, but I was really optimistic. I had a smile on my face, and they probably thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
I was just like, God's going to get me through this. And
yeah, you had some pretty strong faith.
Yeah, and my faith had been really improving. I'd been getting a lot deeper into God's word for a few years prior to that. And leading up to that, I would say I was in like a really good spot with my faith and mentally. And so when I got the diagnosis, when they were telling me all this, it didn't faze me, probably like it would faze other people. Mm-hmm. And so I kept a really upbeat attitude, and I went through this month of really intense chemo. Mm-hmm. Lost all my hair.
You looked rough.
Vomiting, lost 20 pounds. But I felt good. I had a broken pelvis, technically, from where the cancer had eaten through. So I had to do a little bit of, it took a while before I was able to walk, but I started walking the halls, and when I got out, it was great. It was hard.
Yeah.
Because all the chemo is really make you feel like garbage. They take everything out of you, but then when you start recovering, you feel good, and then they knock you out with chemo again. So they were, because I left the hospital, did a bone marrow biopsy. I was in remission, no cancer, no mutation, nothing. and they had me on a pill, and they said, we might not have to do a transplant since this worked for you. You can be on this pill for the rest of your life. And so I was like, oh heck yeah, I'm gonna do that, and we're gonna get through I had to do like 6 more chemotherapy sessions over the course of like the next 6 months, which they were miserable, but but then I relapsed, and so they sent me back down to Denver, and I had to get a bone marrow transplant. So I had a bone marrow transplant a year ago, December 22nd.
Wow.
So I was in the hospital for a little over a month for that. And
Well, I think that you kind of say it so nonchalantly, like, yeah, I'll be out of here in 2 years. And I mean, that's amazing that that's good that they had that kind of mindset and they were setting you up for that. But I honestly would be like, what's the survivability of this? Like in all reality, where are you?
Well,
where am I actually going to be at? Because the way I heard it, and your wife, so we got to bring this up. Your wife, amazing writer too.
Yeah.
And she was making posts this whole time.
Yeah.
As soon as you got admitted and everything, she was giving literally all of us, friends and family, updates through Facebook.
Yeah.
And I think her writing got recognized by a lot of people. I mean, it went viral pretty much.
Yeah, we even, this reminds me, we even had like a news station here in Billings. They want to do a little excerpt or whatever on me.
They want to now, or they already did?
No, they want to
now. Oh,
I think we were supposed to contact them when we got back last year, but we haven't.
Yeah,
we've just wanted to settle and not talk about it as much. I know it's really hard for my wife to talk about. It's a little bit easier for me to talk about, but
yeah. Well, a lot of it's because Luke, it it didn't look like you're gonna make it.
Really?
Well, it was
I had
pretty
people
spooky thing.
I had people tell me that after the fact, and even like my doctors had said, like, I was in a really bad crisis. Like I had a lot of cancer in my body at that point.
Yeah.
But the chemo, that's why they have the chemos that they have.
Yeah. But it's a really aggressive chemo or aggressive cancer.
Yeah. Well, it's an acute cancer. So acute, there's a chronic leukemias and there's acute. The chronic is sometimes they don't, if you're older, like in your 70s or 80s, sometimes they don't even treat it because it moves so slow. But acute leukemias, like ALL, is usually a cancer of children, young children. That's mostly like when you see the bald-headed kids and the St. Jude's, usually they're showing kids with leukemia. And so that's what I got. So, but I was young enough, so they gave me the children's regimen. So, because when you're younger, your body can take a lot of chemo.
Yeah.
So they gave me quite a bit of chemo, and I mean, I didn't really think much of it, but I got home and there was people who were like, I was like, they were so worried. They were Googling it, and that's something I didn't do in the hospital. I wasn't Googling the disease. I wasn't. Yeah. I was just like, I'm gonna give this to God.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to God and trust that the doctors they know what to do. And because what else can you do? Yeah. Why would you worry about it? So.
Right. Well, and I think that's a really comforting place to come from, especially in that situation, because, well, there are people that, and we'll get into this, that might even deny care. And I don't know if that's a way to go or not. Just, to have God, truly just trust in God that way. But I think that the fact is you just need to have, I think it's very comforting to have faith, but I think that it ultimately, it lets you have a better perspective that gives you a healthier place to come from in dealing with it. I think when you give it all up to God, it does something in your mind where you're at peace with everything, and so therefore you're almost stronger to deal with everything in a way. Yeah. Like you just know that you're going to get through it one way or another. It's just another experience. Yeah. And when you separate those things from your identity and realize like, I'm because there's the people out there that are like, come on, you're strong. And it's like, you can say that all day long, but there's always a chance. There's always a chance that they're not strong enough. Yeah. And what happens then?
Well, I've had so many people tell me like, "Oh, we admire your strength," because my wife is documenting this whole thing.
She's writing it all up.
And she's going through, the caregiver goes through the same pain and not physical pain, but that's, to be a caregiver
Yeah.
To go through what my wife went through is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's almost harder for the caregiver to watch what's going on than the patient.
Yeah, because you're helpless. There's
Yeah.
nothing you can do.
At least I'm sitting there and I know they're just giving me the drugs, and like that's my job is just to get the. But then she's my caretaker. She's the one having to deal with watching her husband go through this, plus dealing with the doctors and all that, and
Everything else.
dealing with some of the logistics, and but also just the mental.
Well,
part of
and
it, so.
keeping up with family and friends, keeping everybody else in the loop. They started a GoFundMe for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think your wife's writing, I know that she wasn't making these posts in order to make the fund happen.
Yeah.
But her writing and everything was definitely, it helped that thing get around in a way, because it was like, who is this guy? It gave a peep into your life, or a peek into your life of what a great person you were beforehand.
Yeah.
So I think that was
Thanks.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's people out there that they might not have been decent people before they got cancer, and then they become good people, or
Well, I would say that's true to an extent for me too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely changed me.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Okay.
When you get that close to death, I think even if you're a good person, everybody still has flaws, but it makes you more aware of like the urgency to change.
Yeah.
Those things.
Gives you perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, my wife, she wrote this post when I got diagnosed and when they life flighted me, and she had the pictures and everything, and it spread like wildfire. There was a few thousand people who liked it, and hundreds and hundreds that commented and shared and all that. So it kind of spread like wildfire around Billings, and it spread definitely amongst the hospital. Mm-hmm. So when I returned back home to Billings and they started doing some of the chemos at the hospital here, then everybody knew who I was and they wanted to treat me well, because Carly included some of those details about the difficulty getting diagnosed.
I remember that. Yeah.
So they treated us really well, and their foundation covered some of the expenses.
Wow.
Travel expenses and stuff. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
But yeah, she continued to document the whole story. She's fantastic at writing and photography, so she kind of was keeping people updated with the story and
following along all the way.
Yeah, and then so come last spring, so I had spent over 100 days in the hospital,
right,
and no COVID visitors. Mm-hmm. So I was taking a mental toll at times.
Yeah.
No visitors because of COVID. Excuse me. And then so that was tough, but I had ended up sick and had to go back in the hospital at one point, and they did 3 spinal taps within 48 hours.
Jeez.
Or no, it was like 24 hours, and they did a biopsy.
The first one wasn't good enough? The second one wasn't good enough?
I had been admitted again because I had C. diff.
Yeah.
And I had a fever. And when you get a bone marrow transplant, you have new stem cells going in there, repopulating your bones with bone marrow, and you don't have an immune system. So you could die of the most benign infection.
Wow.
Like what might be like a little cough or something to most people, like a little cold, could kill someone who's going through a transplant. So that's why the first like 30 days, 40 days after the transplant, you're in complete confinement, and then you have all these strict rules after transplant on what you can eat, what type of people you can be around. My wife couldn't work. Obviously, we're in Denver, so she wasn't. And then because it was COVID, it was like amplified to the 10th degree.
Yeah,
so everybody's especially worried. So that was definitely hard. That was the hardest part, I would say, about going through the treatment and being in the hospital, was not being able to have like my wife or people be able to visit me. Yeah. Because normally I'd be in my room and I have this central line that goes into my chest,
right,
and it's connected to tubes that I can't disconnect. So just to plug in your IV pole or unplug it, and you're so weak, you have everything taken out of you, to get to the bathroom is like the biggest chore. It's like an adventure.
Yeah.
And so like little things like that, it would have been so nice to have just someone there. Because you can call the nurse, but they've got to,
Yeah.
you don't want to call them every 2 seconds for
Yeah.
little tedious things. So.
Yeah, they're not real big on that.
But
I'm going to take a quick intermission right here.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go ahead and come back here in just a minute. I got to check my levels, make sure that we got enough space on the card and everything, make sure we're good on that.
okay.
So then we'll pop back in because I want to hear
Yeah.
you kind of relapse. Some
Yeah,
stuff
it
like that.
kind of gets
So,
juicy.
Yeah, it gets kind of crazy. So,
Yeah.
all right, we'll stop it right here. We're recording here, back on the mics, and recording back on the cameras. And we're back. Where were we? I gotta think.
I had
Back in
C.
the
diff.
hospital.
Yeah, I had C. diff. Ended up in the
C. diff.
hospital.
That's right.
But even if they know what it is, they've got to do every test in the book. And I had already had a bunch of lumbar punctures, is where when they put a needle into your spine and collect spinal fluid.
Right.
Because they have to make sure there's no cancer there. Well, they had to collect like a bunch of spinal fluid to make sure there was no infection in my spine. So they normally, when you get a spinal tap, they have imaging and you lay on a bed and they know this precise spot. But these Denver docs, they've been doing it for so long, they know by feel, and they use a smaller needle. So there's like less risk of bleeding and spinal headache and everything. The lady who was trying to initially collect the fluid from me, she could not find the right spot to where spinal fluid was coming out. So she kept rubbing the needle against my nerve. and
these are the 3 spinal taps you had to have within like consecutive days.
One was a normal one.
Yeah.
But then they decided to do another one. It shouldn't have been 2 more, but they did 2 more to finally they had like 5 syringes of, it looks like water.
Spinal fluid, yeah.
Yeah, it's just clear liquid. But yeah, so that was kind of my low point, just physically, mentally. I was just so drained from all the treatment. I mean, I had had dozens and dozens of bags of chemo at that point and so many drugs and spinal taps and biopsies that just kind of hit a low point. And then we
How
found
many days
out,
in was this? You said that was about 100
that
days?
was about 60 days after my transplant. So February.
Oh, February.
Of last year.
Wow. So you did 100 days of chemo and all that stuff, then transplant, February last year.
Yeah. So I did.
And then.
So to sum it all up, I did my induction down in Denver when I was life flighted, did 30 days of treatment. Yep. Then back in Billings, I did 2 full cycles, essentially, of more chemo, which is like you're out of the hospital for 2 weeks, then you go in for a week, you get a bunch of chemo, and then you do that again. And I did that again 3 or 4 times. And then they basically do the same thing before transplant. Before they put the stem cells in you, they have to completely wipe out all your old blood cells. So they give you radiation. They give me radiation and chemo, and they just wipe it all out of you. Then they give you the new stem cells, and they grow the new bone marrow, and then they put you on all sorts of drugs, anti-rejection drugs, to make sure that the new immune system doesn't
fight the old one,
or fight your body. Kill your body. So
those stem cells, where are they from? Where do they get stem cells from?
My donor was from Germany, so they have they do a genetic test, and they compare you to people on the registry, people who have volunteered or signed up to be on the registry, and they have a matching system, and there's like 10 criteria that they test for, and they found me a 10 out of 10 match, and it was I think it was like a 19-year-old.
Really?
That's all I know.
So it wasn't like a
19-year-old male, same blood type.
Okay.
Because sometimes you can get new stem cells and you have a new blood type.
Yeah.
After that, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
And your body accepted it? How did it go?
Well, I didn't fully engraft, and then 2 months after the transplant, I found out there was some cancer again, which is not good news. So they took me off all my rejection meds to try to like unleash this new immune system to like attack the old cells and everything. And so that worked.
Wow.
And I was eventually able to come back to Montana after 100 and something days down in Denver, and found out I was fully engrafted in June, and then
June of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
June of 2021.
Oh, this is June of 2021.
Yeah, this is last year.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah. And then, yeah, I've just been home since, and it just physically, the toll it took on me that was the greatest toll it took on me. I had a little bit of maybe PTSD, but mentally, other than that, mentally I was pretty stable.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it kind of wipes out your hormones, and you lose your hair and you're pale, and I lost 30 pounds during the transplant. So I was just a twig.
And they say that
That
your hair
point.
could come back a different color, eyesight
Yeah.
could change, or your
Yeah.
eyes could change and stuff.
Yeah, that as a result of the transplant, it can affect your eyes and your skin and
Wow.
all sorts of stuff.
Wow.
So
So it's someone else's DNA.
yeah,
pretty much
well, a
injected.
different immune system.
Yeah.
But the engraftment actually started to go down after that again,
Oh, really?
and we found out in like August or September that I was back down to about 50-50, which is, they don't like that. So I had to go back down to Denver, and they gave me more of his stem cells to try to boost those numbers. And then, unfortunately, I relapsed after that. They found some cancer again.
In when? October? This October?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they were like going to do a whole new transplant and treatment, send me down to Denver. I had to do a clinical trial. I was supposed to be gone for like the whole thing, another 5 months or whatever. And in the 2 weeks between finding out I'd relapsed and having to go down to start the study, the cancer disappeared, because we got to Denver and my tests that they did down there came back clean.
Wow.
So, and the story behind that is we had started just watching like a bunch of like healing testimonies online, and just praying and being expectant that we're not going to have to do treatment, and things are going to be okay.
Yeah.
And we just gave it all up to God, and here I am.
Yeah. And you laugh about it. Are you like,
Yeah.
are you doubtful, or does it just sound crazy to you, or what? What do you,
No, I'm just happy about it.
Yeah.
I got to spend Christmas this year with my family, and
Yeah.
that's awesome.
That's wild. That's the wild part about it.
Yeah.
So right now they haven't seen any sign of cancer. I mean, what are the odds of that happening? For the most part,
Well, my
there a
doctor was
whole lot
pretty.
of these?
My
Yeah.
doctor was pretty stunned.
Yeah.
Because at that point he's like, nothing is working for you, so you just need a new immune system that's gonna fight that cancer and fully engraft.
Wow.
So, and the chemo pill that I'm on, he's like, oh, it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
And then sure enough, he calls me like the day after the biopsy when I'm back down in Denver, and he's like, I don't know what you're doing, but he's like, it must be working.
Yeah.
The initial results are clean, so
Jeez.
yeah.
So something happened there. That's pretty wild testimony.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so I hope I summed that up nicely. I mean, there's
I-
obviously a lot of more intricacies and
Yeah.
little details
Yeah.
to all that, but
Well, I think it's a thing that I wanted to bring on, because there's sometimes this podcast is really about accountability and everything,
Yeah.
and trying to do your best, and for the most part taking on everything in your life and realizing that there is a large amount that you can handle. There are some things that you're just going to have to deal with, but you can always determine how you're going to react. You can really take control of your emotions and
Yeah.
deal with these things methodically and logically. But when there's not a whole lot of people in this world, unless it is from disease or some kind of physical affliction, there's not a lot of people that understand when you can't really do any more. There's nothing
Yeah.
else you can do.
Yeah.
And when you can't do anything else, what mindset do you have to find at that point? Because I've struggled with this, and in the same year that you were going through cancer, I was going through losing my dad.
yeah.
And it's not necessarily something that affected me physically,
Mm-hmm.
but mentally, all I could think about is his final moments. And at what point in that plane
Yeah.
was he like, it's not going to happen. I'm not pulling out of this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm locked in, and this is the ride.
Yeah.
And having that interests me a lot is what do you do in your final moments? And while his was hopefully within a minute to 2 minutes of him crashing and passing away, he didn't have to reflect for very long, or didn't have to really deal with that for very long.
Yeah.
The final moments.
Yeah.
But I feel like people with cancer, every day you have to realize as you slowly deteriorate away,
Yeah.
what's your mindset going to be? You're watching your body slowly, and I don't know if you ever had times while you were in the hospital, it was like, am I going to wake up tomorrow?
Yeah.
Am I going to wake up after this nap? I'm extremely tired right now.
Well, I mean, I never had that thought.
Yeah.
But when you, because after the chemos and stuff, they get you healthy. You're cancer free. It's not like, unless you have a drug reaction, you're stable.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people would have the fear of getting an infection or so like that, which everybody was afraid for me. I didn't have a whole lot of fear. But
which I think is comforting.
it was more so when I would relapse.
Yeah.
Because I've relapsed 3 times.
Yeah.
And with each relapse, the outcome gets really thin.
Yeah.
It gets smaller and smaller. The
chance of you coming out
success,
of it.
yeah.
The success rate.
But I really challenged myself when I first was diagnosed. Is I was like, I'm not gonna look at statistics. I'm not gonna get caught up in that, because I really think that can send you into depression.
Yep.
And that can also take your eyes off of what's more important.
Yeah.
It's like, first of all, what is that? How does that help? First of all, but also that takes your attention away from your family, your friends, from God. So
I got to look this thing up really quick.
What?
And I'm doing it on my phone. I'm not trying to be rude, but right now, I'm just thinking about this podcast that Reese, your brother-in-law, sent me.
Oh.
And it was on Ryan Trahan's Capitalism podcast. I think his last name, Ryan Daniel Moran's podcast. And he brought a guy on that was I think he was a billionaire.
Okay.
And had made a ton of money. And I'm just thinking about this now because he had done very well. And then all of a sudden he found out that his whole company had been embezzling from him.
Oh, geez.
As he started to have to deal with cancer. He got diagnosed with cancer. He didn't have more than maybe 5-6 months to live. And all of a sudden, just like people were siphoning money off of this.
Yeah.
And he lasted longer than the 6 months, lasted a couple of years. And then all of a sudden, he's getting called from creditors. He's fine. He's going to survive.
Wow.
And all of his companies just ran into the ground. And he's got nothing left. And he kind of is like, he was extremely grateful still at the end. I think he found faith as well. And he had said, there's one thing that you'll always want. And it's not money after you've lost your health.
I know.
It's something that's really a perspective changer. And so when I'm hearing you talk about this stuff and everything, it's he says that one reason that he thinks that he made it through is he says, I truly believe that if you truly believe that you're going to get through it, and you believe in a plan and that someone else has a plan for you, you are 1,000 times % more likely. There's so many people in this world, they hear the stats and they just accept it. Well, they just accept not living.
I've actually told people, and obviously I wouldn't wish cancer on anybody, but I've told people that going through what I went through would probably be good for most people on this earth.
Yeah.
Because it makes you question everything, your creator.
Yeah.
What got you here, what your purpose is, what matters most in life.
Yeah.
And I think if people really actually thought about that more, the world would be a little bit of a better place, right?
Yeah.
In the Bible, it says, blessed are those who are poor in spirit. They weren't talking about poor financially. They weren't talking about the poor. They were talking about poor in spirit, people who had been beaten down, hitting rock bottom.
Yep.
Because when you hit rock bottom, that's when you're willing to receive, right? That's when you're really willing to receive help. That's when you're willing to look for answers, and that's when you find God, and that's when you find greater purpose in life. And so, as much as it sucks that this guy went through what he went through with his health and people stealing from him, in the end, he found out what really mattered in life. And so that's kind of how I look at myself. It's like, man, I'm actually really obviously fortunate for making it through this, but there's so many things that I used to worry about that it's like doesn't even faze me anymore. It's just like the fear is gone from my life. And I had already come to a point during cancer where I was like, if I die, I die, and that's it. Not that that's what I want or what I accept, but I got to the point where I wasn't afraid of it.
Yeah.
I was just, in my mind, I was like, I didn't want to leave my wife behind. I didn't want that for my wife and for my family. So I think that was hard to think about. But yeah.
When you were in the hospital and you're dealing with this stuff, what's it look like? Is it, because I've always struggled with in my faith, and this is kind of going more of a faith route. I've never really had a scheduled, I get up in the morning and I pray for 5 minutes. It seems like, or I get up and I read my Bible or whatever. For some reason, I've always had that pressure in my life. I've always thought, man, I'm a terrible Christian. I'm terrible at any of this stuff because I always just was performance based.
Yeah.
But recently I found and very recently, within the last, 6-7 months, I think I started really figuring this out. And then in the last couple months, I've really been more and more okay with it. But it seems like I just have an ongoing conversation all the time. And it sounds weird. It might sound completely psycho. But I feel like I am, well, what do you think about this? It sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But I think that's where I found more peace, instead of thinking performance-based and having shame because I'm not living the life of what some people would consider as a typical believer. But I feel like I'm sometimes having conversations even while I'm recording this podcast in a way. And like, I just feel like a lot of this stuff is something that I could have never created on my own. I feel like there's some kind of hand out there that's making it happen.
Yeah.
So for you, when you were going through this, is it just whenever you're needing it, you're taking a sip from that faith straw, or how does that kind of working out for you? Is there structure to it?
I think picking up the cross and carrying it daily is always going to be a hard thing, right?
Yeah.
Because we're just surrounded by so many distractions.
Yeah.
But I've definitely been a little bit more motivated to dive into scripture.
Yeah.
Especially the last, I would say since like August or September, even before I relapsed this last time, I had this kind of conviction, this sense inside of me that I really needed to like get into the Word and to just take a little bit more time to get outside and just appreciate the beauty of nature and not spend so much time inside.
Yeah.
I was just feeling really good about my faith, and then when I got the news that I'd relapsed, I just had this great sense of peace that had come over me.
Really?
And I'm sure the anxiety hit at different times.
Yeah.
But overall, I had this like great peace over me, and I kind of knew that I wasn't going to have to go through more treatment. But yeah, part of that too is, like you said, you've kind of had that temptation to think that everything is performance based.
Yeah.
Which is very much kind of how I grew up too. I was a really high achiever.
Yeah. Phenomenal trumpet player.
I found a lot of my worth in achievement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether it was sports or music or school. And so, when I dropped out of college, even after my first year of college and took that break, I felt like worthless. I was like, this is not what someone like me should be doing. I should be going to school and getting a degree and becoming a doctor. And that's where I found all my value. So I felt pretty worthless, and it really took getting on track with God and seeing myself as God sees me to truly come out of that, and to realize that life is about more than just getting a degree and making money and being successful financially or whatever. Or being the most popular guy in the room. So
the only thing I've ever gained from that is weight and lost hair. So that's the only thing that I've ever really
think
got
about how
from
much
stressing about it.
Think about how much stress people have over trying to be the top dog. If trying to be,
Well, and that's the beauty about, I don't know how past generations did it, but then again, in past generations, you just were worried maybe about
the hierarchy
food
of
on the
needs.
table. Hierarchy of needs and everything. But in today's world, there are some blessings. You don't have to be the number one in the world to be comfortable financially. You don't have to be the best of the best. There's lots of ways that you can build a lifestyle now, still be productive to society, to where they find enough value in you to pay your bills, and you can afford a pretty comfortable lifestyle. And as much as people complain about expenses going through the roof, which they are, inflation's going to be a tough thing, but I think that there's now more opportunity to do the things that match easier with your personality, so you can actually find out what really matters in life. I think that we've been offered a time to, everybody should a little bit be a bit of a philosopher. They should kind of think about these things, because these are things that were not afforded to our ancestors. It was eat, sleep, hunt, you know, and then do it again, and now the fact that there are ways that you can make some money and take some time and try some things, and maybe if you live a little bit cheaper than what society wants, tells you that you need to have, you can find a quality of life that's pretty amazing, as long as you're willing to admit that, and admit that it's possible. A lot of people subscribe to, I have to have this and I have to have that, and I know there's a fine line. You need a couple $1,000 to survive every month, at least, typically, especially if you got to do health insurance and everything. But I think that for the people that want it, and
there's so much opportunity out there.
There's a lot of opportunity out there.
There is.
Just got to be optimistic about it.
Yeah.
Which is terrible, because I, for a long time, was a realist, and I think optimism is.
There's so much. The thing is, and one thing I found out through the cancer process is not only is there opportunity out there, which we just covered, but there is so much charity in the United States. We take care of people who are sick.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's, obviously I'm not speaking for every circumstance, but if you look for help, in some cases you don't really have to look, but there's charity, there's giving, there's a lot of great people out there who are willing to give. I mean, I don't know how many times we traveled back and forth to Denver, but a lot of times it was free on a flight, because we would use this nonprofit called Angel Flight, and so they just match you with a pilot who donates his time and his aircraft, and he flies you where you need to go. And like we flew on a private jet. We flew on little tiny airplanes. My GoFundMe raised $30,000 or $40,000, and we had people bring us meals, and obviously a lot of that was being part of a church community. But man, America is a great place to have a problem like cancer, because there's just so much help out there for you.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you said outside of this podcast, because I was kind of asking you, what's your next chapter? I mean, you're successful enough as a day trader that you're going to be able to maintain that lifestyle, and that's a lifestyle that affords you to get better. It lets you take some time and do some things. Granted, it is a toll on, or it is a strain, or takes a toll on your mental capacities. I know it's extremely emotionally.
You have to be disciplined to get outside and
Yeah,
get
exactly.
with friends and
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and just go see the daylight again,
yeah,
which you're not supposed to have right now, I guess. But
yeah.
but what's next? What's next for Luke Anderson, a guy that seemingly has beat cancer? I mean, maybe we
Yeah.
shouldn't be saying that. Knock on wood.
I'll say it.
Yeah, that it looks good.
Yeah.
What have you taken away from this? What are you thinking that you want to, where do you want to go with it? I mean, do you want to, yeah, what do you get?
Well, I was thinking really hard during cancer that afterwards, I just really want to be someone who can be generous, who can be that person who's able to write a check or cover housing or travel for someone who's in a similar situation that I was in. I'd love to be someone who can just write checks. And I really want to be successful in day trading so that becomes a tool to be able to give more. But aside from that, I mean, short term is just taking care of my health,
Yeah.
recover, gaining some weight back and some
Yeah,
strength
you gotta
back.
take care of yourself.
But my wife and I really want to have kids. And so we're really hoping that we can have it naturally.
Yeah.
Because at this point they've told me I can't have kids naturally. So,
That'll be a miracle in itself.
yeah. But we've already seen some miracles along the way. So,
Right. Yeah.
but, yeah, I don't know. It's one thing this whole experience has done for me too is I don't really look too far into the future, to be honest.
Yeah.
When you're just trying to meet your daily needs, get through one day at a time. That's kind of the mentality mindset I've been in for the last year and a half. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, and it seems like,
it's hard to look too
yeah.
far into the future.
Yeah, and it seems like that your daily needs have been met. So
Yeah.
maybe you're gonna follow along in your dad's footsteps and try some pastor stuff too, one way or another.
I don't know.
Too. Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I don't know. After watching him be pastor, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a rough journey.
It's tough.
A lot of moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think you can minister to people and be an influence in people spiritually without having to be a pastor. So,
Well, I think you're doing it right here. I think that, I mean, at the very least, to have some kind of optimism and just to hear a story where somebody has won. I mean, I would consider this winning. A lot of people even at the very least, that you've just at least taken on a mindset that's given you peace.
yeah.
I think that's a win right there.
Yeah, your victory regardless of the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Physically here on this earth, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that with that in consideration, man, it's a good story so far. But I think what's even cooler about it is if you are still here and you're still doing stuff and things are still happening, I can't imagine what else is in store, because
I know.
overcoming cancer and then that not being the end of your story, not saying that you
Yeah.
have to beat that in a way, but it's like, wow, then what else could possibly be done? Because I mean, you find a lot of people don't understand, but probably one of the hardest things to overcome in this life is yourself and the barriers that you've put up for yourself, and literally dying to self, like killing yourself in a way. It sounds bad. I'm not talking about suicide. I'm talking about killing the manifestations that you've already created in your mind of what you're capable of or not capable of doing.
Well, when you're in a situation where you're at the end of yourself,
Yeah.
like I said, poor in spirit or whatever, at the end of yourself, and all you can do is cast it out to God.
Yep.
And you have that peace and comfort knowing that, because like literally all our needs were met along the way. Cancer was like the hardest thing I've ever been through. But I look back on it, I was like, man, it really wasn't as bad as I thought, because all our needs were met.
Yeah.
And we got to that point during our journey that we just knew, like, if we needed X amount of dollars for gas, or we needed a place to stay or whatever, it was going to be provided. Someone would call us, someone would send a check, whatever. So all our needs were met. And going forward, that gives me confidence, because it's like, if all your needs are met in like a dire circumstance like that, then, that gives me confidence going forward. And for the rest of my life, it's like, man, I can do a lot of things and as long as I put my trust in the right place, then there's not too much to worry about. And, I'll have a lot more confidence to take risks, whether it be business or ministry or whatever it is. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Man, that's incredible. I don't know. I think we're just going to have to do a check back in with you at some point later on, because that's a hard thing to beat right there. I mean, that's wrapping that up
Be
until
juiced
into
next time you see
January.
me.
Yeah. Gain some weight,
Hopefully.
get healthy on that. Man, that's a crazy story, and it's something I'm really glad that you let me, kind of share with you and bring it on here. I mean, right now, I think that that's something that a lot of people need to hear in this world is always realize that it could be worse. And once you go through something and you find that rock bottom, it is a relief in a lot of ways. You find joy in suffering.
Yeah.
And you kind of go the whole Job route. Like, everybody should go and read Job if you think your life sucks.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm sure there's people who thought I was crazy at times because probably thought I was in denial, but there was times where I was going through a lot physically, and
Yeah.
I just took on that mentality of I had a lot of joy, and I was finding joy through suffering, and I would even joke about my cancer a lot.
Yeah.
Like I would have humor that some people wouldn't laugh at, but it's funny to me.
Yeah.
But that was kind of a way to take control of cancer, and if I got some laughs out of it, then that was good. But
Well, if you look back, it's kind of an interesting phenomenon, because if you look back at your life before this, I feel like he was preparing you in a way mentally.
yeah.
I mean, your mental fortitude, I thought, was absolutely impressive. The kind of conversations that we would have in your kitchen, and just talking about life and how it was and how you saw it, and that was always a very interesting thing, and it really made me look up to you in a lot of ways, because I thought at the age that we had been hanging out and we had met, which is, you were about 26, I was 22 or 23. I think is when we were hanging
25,
out.
26.
Yeah, 25. You're 25, 26. I was 21,
24.
22.
Yeah.
I was a couple years younger, and I just thought, this guy's seen some stuff, and he's already dealt with some stuff internally and personally, and I always thought that was funny, because it seemed like you were really impressed with me and the life that I had already had.
I was.
But because I've just had a lot of different experiences.
Yeah.
But I felt like in your lesser amount of experiences, such as like world experience, kind of like I had, you seem to have more of a calm and confidence and security than I had tried to find going from job to job, position to position, skill to skill. And it always just impressed the heck out of me. And I think that kind of mental fortitude was a gift of yours.
That had been kind of a recent development, though, because I had always kind of struggled with self-image and having like confidence in myself to be able to accomplish something. Even though I was a high achiever and I'd done like straight A student, whatever.
Yeah.
When I had moved back to Montana, I was kind of finding myself and finding like some confidence in myself. And that's what actually led me to buy that house that we were living in.
Okay.
Because I was like, I'm going to just take this risk and go for it. I believe that I can do it.
Yeah.
And so,
and your parents thought you could do it too.
yeah,
Your mom did anyways.
yeah.
It helps to have a good realtor.
Well, she actually had her doubts, but I kind of talked her into it. I was like, I think this is a good investment. So just going through like fixing up a house, taking a risk like that, and just putting yourself out there and doing that, taking a risk and having it pay off, like that's a huge confidence booster. And I feel like so many people don't take risks, or don't step into an uncomfortable position because they have so much self-doubt.
Yeah.
But in reality, like if you just do that, you might fail a couple times, but I feel like I'm just beating on a broken drum. All these success gurus
it always
have
seems...
probably said all this, you're never gonna, you miss 100 shots,
you don't take
100% of the shots you don't take. But
yeah, it always seems to me it's a tough place to be in, because that's what I struggled with just starting this podcast. Was like, man, it's all been said. All this stuff has already been brought up and talked about, and you just get it repackaged to you and sold to you a different way every single time. But at the same time, it's like, it's been said, and for some reason people still don't get it.
Yeah.
It sounds cliche, but sometimes the cliche things are the most true.
Well, one thing I used to do is I tended to idolize people who had success.
Yeah.
So I put them in a different category.
Yeah.
Like I was like subhuman, and they were like,
yep,
they were like godlike.
I feel the same
So
way.
I felt like they had like something special that I didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had this mindset when I was really young, because we didn't have a lot of money growing up. It's like, I will never be rich.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll never have like financial wealth, because there's just something that sets other people apart. And so it wasn't until like the past like 5-6 years, having success day trading, seeing my mom do really well in real estate, stuff like that, that I realized, like, wait a second, we're all human. We're all capable of the same thing. Like there's nothing, I mean, obviously some people cheat to get to the top. There's obviously corruption, and there's people who have, in some cases, unfair advantages. But really, if you put yourself out there and you work hard enough, and you're not completely
brain dead,
brain dead, or afraid of taking risks, then there's a lot of opportunity out there. And
it's mindset. It really is. It has to start with your mindset, I think, in a lot of different ways. And I think that that's something we need to teach a lot more in school. Is it truly needs to be, okay, labels are good in a sense in order to have ways to search things and look things up and literally learn how to learn. But we can never label so far as say, hey, if you have this problem, then you're very unlikely to be able to do this, or very unlikely to do this, because that it teaches realistically and statistically, there's not a very good chance of you becoming an NBA star or blah blah blah, especially if you're 5'1". There's obviously some real life things there.
You gotta have some sense. Some
constraints.
self-awareness.
Some self-awareness and everything, but also realize that no one's gonna be better at you than something that you like to do. Like they're not gonna be better than you if you really like doing it, because you're just gonna like doing it so much. You're gonna keep practicing it and keep trying it, and you will find a way to get paid to do it, because people don't like watching people do something they don't like to do. I straight up don't want to pay a plumber that hates his job to do his job. I want to pay somebody that likes to do it.
But if that's his only source of income, he better learn how to love his job.
You've got to either find it or take the chance of going back down the mountain and climbing another mountain. Your little hill you're on is maybe not the hill for you. Go back down the bottom.
And see, I'm not particularly in love with day trading. Like it's not.
Speak on that.
I don't love day trading. It's not something that I really enjoy, but I'm good at it and it pays the bills. So I've learned to, like it. But I think we have this mentality in our culture that you have to do what you love.
Okay.
And so I think that's great. Sometimes that's a hobby though. Right. Because I have a lot of time on my hands outside of day trading that I can do what I like, right? But work is always going to be work. And it's great if you love it. But if you don't love it, just, my grandpa was a farmer. I don't think I'm sure he didn't hate farming, but he worked all his life. He was born on his farm. He died on his farm. And everything in between was just him staying on the farm and working. And he did that so his kids could have better opportunity. And so sometimes you just have to buckle up or buckle down, I should say.
and find some joy in it.
And that's not to say you can't do something
within something that feeds you. That keeps you going. When I'm struggling with that same thing is do you preach this, like, go out and do your passion and blah blah blah, and it's like, no, you have to actually find a way to monetize a portion of your passion. If your passion is drawing stick figures in the sand.
There's not much of a market for that.
Not much of a market for that. It's going to get washed away. Or
Yeah.
maybe there is, but you got to get creative about your social media in order so that people can see you doing this.
Yeah.
You know, it's no different than street artists that are always painting the pictures and everything like that. You know, you have to have some kind of sense in a way to figure out how to market. If you truly like doing it, you've got to you can't just accept that the world or ask the world to cater to you.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to figure out how to either use a portion of that and mold it into a real life, marketable, valuable item, or you have to say, you know, I don't want to get burnout getting paid for this and have to do this every day.
Yeah.
But I see this other job over here that's stable enough. It produces the income that I want for my lifestyle, and I can still maintain this on the side. Then I'll do that. And that was something that I kind of realized with this real estate thing was I don't love real estate.
Yeah.
I don't. And it was really tough for me to get into it alone and not have anybody around me when I did it before. But I love working with my team that I have now, and I love many aspects of real estate, and I love seeing that success, and I love even more coaching other people through their purchases.
Yeah.
But am I super excited about the paperwork on the back end? No, I never was. Like, am I super excited about maintaining the level of organization? No, I hired a transaction coordinator, you know, like, and they took care of everything. There's certain things that I do enjoy, but there's a lot of things that I don't, and it's not going to be a forever thing. I'll probably do at least always 1 or 2 real estate deals the rest of my life, but will I do 100 transactions a year? No, it's not something I love enough to do that. I'll probably do it for the next 5 to 10 years. We'll see how this
That's
podcasting
what real estate
goes.
agents say.
But that's what it is. Yeah, that's what they say. And then 20 years later, and you just can't get off the addiction. But just got to get another deal.
Well, it's not even that. It's just that, like, you'll have like 10 clients.
Yeah.
And you're like, how do I phase out? And then you're getting. That's how my mom was. She kind of was like, oh, I want to retire. I want to scale back. And she was able
love
to.
working with you.
She was able to the last like 2 years, but she would just like keep getting calls, and she's like, oh, I can't leave for vacation right now. I gotta keep working. So when you're good at real estate and you're in it, then you're kind of stuck in it for a while, unless you have the heart to say no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or build a brokerage around you that you can pass all your clients on to other people that you trust your clients with.
Yeah,
you know, it's got to be somebody you trust.
That's hard
with.
in real estate.
Yeah, it's hard, and it's there's also that little bit of fear. The same thing I had with trucking is in the back of your head. You're like, all right, what if something goes and hits the fan, and I gotta have some money? You know, I don't want to have all my clients be working with somebody else where I have to ask for my clients back.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's always a thing. I can imagine. But anyways, man, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else that you want to chat about or bring up? Or
I don't think so. Maybe you'll just have to have me back.
Yeah, we're gonna have to come. Well, we're just gonna have to do that. That's an ongoing thing. I mean, it's I'm not going to stop because I have another job. So I will eventually have to stack up some of these recordings so that I can take some time to go back to my job. But no, I will definitely keep you in the roster for coming back on. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah. Oh, shout out.
It's always fun to
shout out Carly's photography
company. Oh, well, yeah. If you want to check out my wife's photography, that's her passion. She's a nurse, but she's doing the photography for kind of like a hobby, but also she's been picking up quite a few gigs, weddings and family photos and whatnot. So she's gonna have a website. I'm not sure what it's gonna be called, but Carly Anderson Photography in Billings, Montana.
And she's got it. Does she have a Instagram or something like that for it too? I can't remember.
Her brother and I have been kind of
telling her to do that,
trying to get her to do that.
I can't wait to get Reese on. That'll be fun too.
Yeah, but her websites can be done. Maybe when I'm back, she'll have a website up and an Instagram, and I'll promo her and
all that stuff.
If you know anybody in Billings or Montana,
we got people listening. I checked my stats the other day, and I got people from the Dominican Republic, Israel, Sweden.
Well, if you pay us enough, we'll fly out and do a wedding.
Sweden's beautiful. All those places are beautiful.
She's really good. So
good, man. That's awesome. Yeah. If we can do anything to help you guys out, and you want to do something like that, but we'll just have to have you back on.
Cool.
So, thanks so much, Luke.
You too.
Thanks so much, Luke. I appreciate it.
You too.
Good seeing you again.
All right.
All right, we're going to log off here. Thanks, guys, so much for checking in this week. Right now, it is 9:24 p.m. on the 4th of January. So the last episode I just shot out was about 4 o'clock this morning. You guys were listening to, kind of wild. But we got another one done tonight. This is definitely a little bit more sincere. And hopefully somebody can learn something from this and just know that it could always probably be worse. But, there's options for faith, hope, and all the rest. So just have some of that in the back of your head when you're not having a good day. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for listening.